Hello BookTube, I'm Peg, the book prize addict. Welcome to my channel. I'm back here to talk about more picks for the upcoming Women's Prize for Fiction. That's going to be the long list. It's going to be coming out on March 8th. And I got started with this yesterday when I happened to watch this excellent video put on by Eric and Anna on their picks for the award, and they just put on a tremendous video, and I've linked it, and I just decided that what I would do is I would try to read all the ones on their list that I could get at the library, but I wouldn't read the whole thing. That would be impossible. I would read like 30 to 50 pages and just see how much I could tell about the book and if I liked it or not from that amount. It's kind of my version of the page 112 tag, but I'm still going to read 30 to 50 pages. And in addition, I want to start reading more closely, not just to see what happens in the plot, but to look at the actual writing and how it's done. And I've learned a lot from people doing the 112 tag, especially Sean, in how to do that and how important that is in judging an author. Anyway, so actually after I started doing it, I did some of their picks and talked about them, and then I remembered some books I've read myself. So this is going to be a combination of Eric and Anna's picks and some of my own picks. So I have a few books I want to talk about today. The first one is called Birdcage Walk by Helen Dunmore. This was a pick by Anna. And I want to talk a little bit about Helen Dunmore. She's written a lot of great books. Unfortunately, she died earlier this year. I don't know if that'll make her not eligible for the prize or not, but I will say that she won the Book of the Year in the Costa Award, which we talked about earlier, and this is all categories. Hers happened to come from the poetry category. I didn't even realize she wrote poetry because she has so many great novels out. Anyway, and also she won the inaugural, what they used to call Orange Prize, which is now the Women's Prize, when it started in 1996 for a book called A Spell of Winter. So she has a history in this prize. I'll also say that she has won prizes in the Walter Scott Historical Fiction Prize, and that leads to my new discovery that I just realized it's going to be awarded on Thursday, March 1st. So we're going to have lots to talk about. A lot of these probably would be actually more suitable for the historical novel prize, and this one in particular. So I'll be talking actually about some of that in the books that I took about. Anyway, this one is this is a story that takes place in the late 18th century. It takes place in England, but there are some parts of the French Revolution that come into it, and is told from a woman's viewpoint who's married to an architect and they're building the first series of terraced homes in England. I believe it was in Bristol, and the Birdcage Walk is what they call the walkway that had trees formed growing over it. This is the, I think, English version, the yellow copy, and then we have the don't act up on me today, stop that. We have the there we go. All right, we have the American version in blue, which you might be able to see a little better. The Birdcage Walk, it's the first time they actually shape trees to grow over and have it covered, the walkway, with trees. So this looks good, and I definitely think it'll probably be on the Walter Scott Historical Prize. Okay, next we have a pick from Eric, and it's called The End We Start From by Megan Hunter. She's a quite young author. She lives in Cambridge and has formerly gotten prizes for her poetry and short stories. This is her first novel. It's quite slender. It's again a little bit of a dystopian novel. It takes place or starts out in London, where the waters are flooding London coming up, and because of climate change, and the narrator in it is a young woman who is pregnant and begins to give birth as the waters are rising. She does get away with her baby and they escape, but it's the story of she and her partner and the baby and their life as it continues in this world where they're having to change things and be on the run. And it was really well done. I have to say that I looked at the writing and it was rather what would you call succinct writing. There weren't a lot of words, but it was almost poetical in the language of it. And that's why it's, I think, so slim. You might say it's the opposite of Joyce Carol Oates, but she really got a lot of lyrical atmosphere in just using a few words. So that was interesting. Okay, next we have a pick by both Eric and Anna, and probably a lot of other people because I've heard a lot of talk about this. It's called Fire Sermon by Jamie Quattrow. Actually, that's the American version. The English version isn't quite as bright, and it's a little bit more indicative of the story. It's a story of a married woman, actually fairly happily married woman, who has an affair with a poet, and she's also religious, and it's done through letters and emails and different ways and the things she goes through. Most people, there have been quite a few good reviewers who have talked about it on BookTube, and they like it or think it is a worthwhile story. So maybe we'll be seeing that. Okay, now we're getting on to my picks, and the first one is Pachinko by Minyan Lee, and this is about during the 1940s, an immigrant poor Korean family that goes to Japan. The other day I was talking about White Chrysanthemum, that shows Korea when the Japanese soldiers were there, and so this is the other side of the story of how the Koreans were treated in Japan. I think this one also might have a good chance to be on the historical novel, best historical novel list. Now, this is the American version. Of course, they had to put the sticker on for it. It was on the short list for the National Book Award. Anyway, so okay. Next, we have Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng. And she is an Asian American and has written several novels. The one before this was called Everything I Never Told You, and it was a New York editor's choice. It involved a Chinese American family living in Ohio, and tragedy occurs and the relationships between them and the community. And this one deals with a family in a quite upscale community. And I was only able to read the Kindle sample on this because there's about 50 people waiting for it on the library, at the library. But you know, I was really able to tell a lot from the sample now that I've slowed down and looked at the writing. And one thing I really liked about this was the way she described the neighborhood that the narrator lives in. It was quite a upscale neighborhood, and she did little characteristics like the fact that in this neighborhood, houses had to be a particular color. They could choose from like 3 or 4 different colors to be historically accurate. And in it, it's about a family that does in fact have a fire. They're big, almost mansion type house burns up, and it starts with that, but then it goes back in time. But one of the things is they have a duplex that they rent out kind of on the other side of a nice neighborhood, but still. And she made the comment that the duplexes are made so they don't look like duplexes. They just have one door, and then you go up or down once you get inside. And that's again kind of indicative of the attitude of the people there. So I really liked what I read of this, and I liked the way she set the scene and the introduction to the characters. So I would really like to read this. Maybe next year I'll be able to get it at the library. So if you've read any of these or anything else, let me know. And I may have to take off tomorrow and do some more reading, but I'll be back with some more of these predictions from both Eric, Anna, and me. Okay, bye.